Gotta have the coffee shot. Take those off for glare. I've got my studio light here. I wanted to do another one, and this is an offshoot from everything else, but Billy Ray Brandt and some other women come on here and do some shorts about men. Now, if you're like me, you're just knowing that makes you laugh, okay? A little bitty young like that talking about men. Well, she's not the only one. There's 2, 3, 4 of them on there. There's another one on Instagram, a young lady there that's talking about men after divorce that have been married to a severe narcissist personality disorder type like my ex. I actually had to follow her. There's no reason for me to, but to look at her recommendations to start laughing my face off to say I was probably in the 90 to 95 percentile of that's what I followed. So what am I on here for? Well, I wanted to say that you want to listen to, follow Billy Ray Brandt and some others that are similar to her. There's another girl that does her phone in the mirror. She's a cute little bug, and generally she's okay, but she'll go off into the weeds now and then. The idea here is Christian men. You got dinged bad. In my case, I'm going to tell you how bad it was. She came highly recommended by everybody except one cousin and her father. Now, a girl's father not approving of you for the reason that you're a Christian and don't drink, that didn't seem to be a non-starter with anybody else. My side of the family met her, the first one, and oh my goodness, there was only one. My cousin that says, I'm crazy. I know crazy. She says, she scares me. That's not just crazy. What? So I said something to somebody else, and they're like we said, don't listen to her. She's crazy. She's right on that part. Well, as it turns out, old cousin Debbie was correct. She's the only one of the bunch that was correct about any of it. But it was to find out years later that one of the things that I had against me was my mother was angry for me being an honest child. I wanted answers to questions. And if you couldn't answer them, you were just blowing me off. I was relentless. Why? Well, because I knew she lied from the time I was about 3. As soon as I could speak, I knew she was lying. That's how bad it was. So for me, it was relentless pursuit of the truth. Kind of like what Rush Limbaugh thought he was. Well, I was. I had to be. The lies were insane. So my mother's, it should have been a red flag to me, but everybody else around, I ignored what my mother said. Which was, oh, really wonderful. You need to marry her. Why? She saw a manipulative person. Someone that she could manipulate that liked to manipulate. But to me, it was like, my mother's nuts. I didn't listen to that crap. And as it turned out, my cousin and her father were probably the only two that said no. One for the wrong reasons, the other one for knowledgeable reasons. Cousin Debbie, knew. I have to be careful because I'm married to Debbie now. Sweet lady. One of those things where I told her you don't have to be perfect to be perfectly beautiful in many ways. So anyway, when we get past that, the thing that gets me is it reminds me every once in a while when I eat something that I shouldn't, because I found out years after that the ex-wife was actually poisoning me. She got a thrill out of causing certain people harm. Gossip, lies, things that I was not privy to begin with. Now, her original preachers, 2 of them, 2 guys that didn't like each other at all, were both in the ceremony and thrilled to marry us, saying this is the most wonderful coupling you could ever have. I mean, going on, and they both knew her for years, and they knew me for a few years, college. So she was a local that I met. And the sad thing, in Cobleskill, New York, in case somebody wants to get specific about it, the sad thing of it is when we got through with it all, divorce is over, kids are gone. She took the kids with her, and they were out of control. There was nothing anybody could do. If their mother wasn't around, you could not control them. Just screaming. 2 daughters, wild, angry. If they didn't get what they wanted, it was even between each other. It's vicious. But she enjoyed that because she was able to control it. If they were gone off wild, it's easier to pull them back. It's harder to train people not to be over emotional. You need to parent. Well, control's easier. Go the easy way. She thought she'd divorce me and get all kinds of money out of me after that, and found out that no, because the last few years I was self-unemployed for 10 years, there wasn't anything to get, and that was designed. Because what had happened was, well, I might as well work for myself if I'm not going to get any more money out of you. And we were still married with the kids at home. I said, you know what? Go ahead. What do you mean? I'll go self-unemployed. I'm bringing in enough money here to pay the bills and to write off a lot of the house repairs. A third of everything, because of floor space, went house repairs, wrote off. Yeah, whatever the house needed, a third of it could come off to go to the business paid for it, because I was working in the basement. I'd done a lot of smart maneuvering that could have made the business itself really take off, but without support, no. In fact, she was negative. At one time, I had over 1,000 customers. You're talking about bragging. I just want you to know where it came from and how far it came down. She was screaming at people in the phone, screaming at people everywhere, because it wasn't easy money. There were times I walked in and there'd be $200 worth of mail order stocking bills. I mean, we're talking stuff that was $1.50 each, and there was over $200. I said, what do I want to do this for? Pay it! I don't know how, it's so much. Well, that was whining in her little way of saying, I don't want to pay for it. I want you to pay for it. So I made the switch. You're paying for it. Well, after a while, she started saying, and this was the narcissism side, that, well, I don't need you if I'm making the money. And that kept coming up more and more and more. And I said, okay, fine. One day I told her, I said, tell you what, the kids are going to be out of school in a few years. You don't want to be here. That's great. Just hang out here, act like a mother and a wife, and then when the kids are gone, you go off and do whatever you want with whatever pervert you want to do it with. I said, but until then, you're responsible to be a mother to the kids. All that did, without me realizing it, was it set up a goal for her to, essentially, that was kind of like barriers to break. Anything that was an agreement was something to break. To go back to the health problems, I was actually being poisoned for almost a year until I caught her. She was washing dishes and throwing them in the rack. Didn't rinse them. But only certain ones. I was noticing there was only one place setting there. Yeah, it turned out to be mine. The guy told me years later and said she was trying to poison you and kill you. And I said, what do you mean? He says, I take 1 drop of Dawn dish detergent and put it in that 5-gallon drinking container, and virtually every man on this job site will be sick within the next hour or two. All they have to do is drink a cup or two of that stuff and they're down. He says it might not be immediate, but every single one on this job site will be sick in the next hour or two. All of them. So she was trying to poison you. No, I'm just curious, because there's always people out there that shoot their mouths off in some direct way, and they'll say, why can't you get along? I tried. Well, yeah, but. No, there's always the yeah, buts, and it's almost always women. I mean, like 90%. Screaming, yelling. You need to. No, I did. I don't know that. No, you don't. It's because you're a narcissist making legalistic demands. And I don't need that. So when you get those narcissists, walk away. Because the woman's always right in their mind. Whatever you did was wrong, and they don't even know the circumstance. You hit a narcissist. No, you're sitting there saying, I don't want it. No. The opposite side. Start laughing. It's the biggest joke on the planet. When they turn to you, the one that tried so hard and bark in your face, you should have tried harder to get along. You can't. It's impossible. The Billy Ray Brandt just did one today. Well, it came out today that I saw. It was beautiful. You know, the woman says, well, guys just can't handle me. And she says, oh, really? And when she gets to the end, she says, no, it's not them. It's you. You know, if he can handle jiu-jitsu and a business or two, yada, yada, yada. No, it's you. He can handle you just fine. He doesn't wanna. Well, I had come to that point earlier, but still tried to act in a husbandly manner in all things. But you come to the point where you can only do so much, so stop. You say, what do you mean? Stop. Just stop, because she did. You don't know it yet. But when a woman starts barking and making demands in your face as your wife, the love is long gone from that, and she's into something else, and you don't know it or headed there. The thing is, as a Christian husband, what are you doing? Well, you pray for her soul and let her know that. I did that a few times. And give her straight warnings, though. Mine came up and started grabbing a hold of me and kicked the kids into the door, and I told her, pack your bags and get out. Unless you can promise me this will never happen again. And I want you in therapy immediately. Now. And I want to hear from the therapist, because if I don't know that you're in therapy, you will be out in the street. I will bounce you and I will send you over to your parents by sheriff's car. And she was a probation officer. But I knew that I could get the support because I found out through the grapevine, the fire department, she was out of control. Well, she was out of control there because she was trying to keep it home life. Her parents, all where she's the golden girl. But the problem comes in that there's many, many sides to these people. Sick sides. There's the children. There's the husband. There's the friends, couple's friends. There's her friends. There's her work. There's her work close people. And then there's her family and certain people in her family. And then when you go to visit, which these people don't want to go visiting a lot, their grandparents and cousins and externals, by the time you get done, there are anywhere between 5 and 10 sets of differences, different lives that this person is trying to represent. The illness is so deep that it's warning in Scripture that it's irreparable in a modern sense. It would take a heart change and a miracle of God to change them, and that's where we come in as Christian men. She's long gone, over 20-some years. Never want to see or hear from her again because I can't trust a word she would ever say. It's impossible. On the human side, it's impossible. And for you men who are still listening, it is irresponsible for you with a similar ex-wife to ever believe a word they say, ever. Even written on paper, even contractual through a lawyer. You can never believe a word they tell you ever, and it's irresponsible of you to make any agreements with them again. Well, that's just like saying you never want to talk to them again. It is, isn't it? Why? They left you for a reason. Not a good one. Even if it was an appropriate reason that they used to leave you for, if you're picking up the pieces of your life now, they will destroy it and do everything humanly possible. The only thing you can do is A, lawyer, B, law enforcement, C, more law enforcement, and have them. I was fortunate enough to have her on record with the sheriff's department for breaking and entering. Because she was a probation officer, I didn't press charges further. It just went as a call. And one of the deputies showed up that turned out to be a friend to her father. And I thought, this will not go well. And as it did, because he was commissioner of jurors, and he had been county clerk for 2 decades. So you think you're smoked, right? But you still have to make the call. The Lord puts blessings in there you don't know about. This guy showed up and was in my court. Keep them in prayer, but never have anything to do with them again, and don't stress about it. Live your life, move on. And that means cut them off. Well, that's right. And it's a warning to those who are Christians and think they can get away with certain things, or non-Christians. There is a certain point where you slap the Lord in the face too many times, and there is no redeemable quality because you've pushed the Spirit of God away so far that there is no salvation for you. So stop now and rethink your life.